Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Mohammed Ahmad, and we're talking about the Cambridge exams controversy today. I'll just give you a little background about the entire situation. Most of the Cambridge students taking their O levels and A level exams in the upcoming October-November series or the mini exam series that's taking place in Pakistan these days would relate to the discussion that we're going to have in today's podcast. We have Heather Ali with us, a very good friend of mine, to talk about this issue. Heather has been closely monitoring the entire situation, and I think he's the best person to talk about this. Assalamu alaikum, Heather. First of all, thank you
Ji,
for taking the
walaikum
time.
salam.
Thank you for
Thank you so much
being
for
here with
having me
us.
here, Ahmad. Thank you so much for having me here, Ahmad. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Right. All right. So the Cambridge exams controversy is basically initially when the government of Pakistan made this decision to postpone the Cambridge exams from May June 21 series, not exactly postpone, but they asked the students to defer their entries from May June 21 series to October November 21 series because Cambridge this year had left this decision onto the countries to decide. Pakistan was initially not willing to defer the entries to October November series because they were like students should take these exams, keeping in view how the May June 2020 series was exactly, it was also called off in Pakistan. Students were not really happy with that decision. They had even protested a lot. They were disappointed. They wanted the government to postpone the exams or to ask them to defer their entries to October November series. But the government was really strong on its stance. Like, what we saw was right about a few days before the May June 21 series, the Education Ministry of Pakistan decided that the students would defer their entries to October November series. Now, that was the time when students were really confused because they had been actually preparing for the 21 series, the May June series, and government just asked them to defer their entries to another series. Okay, so the situation was developing that after a few days, Pakistan government announced that they will be having a mini exam series for the students of O levels in Pakistan, because obviously the O level students were concerned as their A levels classes were about to begin in August 2021, and they were fearing a gap year as well. So all of the situation here that I mean, and that mini exam series is currently taking place in Pakistan. So students, good luck for that as well. A lot of the O-level students had this option to either take the exams in the mini exam series, and most of the students also had this option to defer their enrollments to October, November 21. A-level students, on the other hand, had this option to either set the major series, only those who had applied abroad and were traveling internationally in for fall 21 intake. And students who were looking for admissions in Pakistan universities had this option to take exams in October, November 21 series. I hope things are clear to you guys now. Heather, what's your take on all of this situation? If I've missed out anything, just do let me know. How do you look at this entire situation here, the student's point of view specifically?
Well, from the student's point of view, it seems pretty confusing. Initially, if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, the whole situation, first, they were pushing for exams to go ahead. The government wanted the exams to go ahead. As a student, I personally know the fact that no student is really scared of COVID. That is the truth. This is how it is supposed to be. We're not scared of COVID. We have our parties, we have everything outside, but when it comes to the exams, we say it's COVID and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but then there are some genuine reasons that the students actually fought out for this. That they wanted postponement. They wanted postponement because they basically knew that the Cambridge exams cannot be postponed and would ultimately lead to cancellation. So this is the main reason they actually kept asking for postponement. Unfortunately, the government was smarter. But from the students' point of view, look, we look for equality. If we are international students, if we are paying fees that are much higher than the locals, we're paying Cambridge International a lot of money for our exams. Um, so for that certain reason, we as students should get to decide what's happening with us, or our teachers should get to decide what's happening with us. Because look, if we look at the main stakeholders, it's either the students who are paying, their parents who are paying the fees, or the teachers who are paying the fees, or the teachers who are teaching the students. So when we look at it, has no involvement as such, but then for what they feel is the best thing. Unfortunately, last year it was a very very sort of different situation, a new thing for everybody. So there was a bit of a corruption in grades. Students' parents actually paid the teachers to get them better grades. It was kind of unfair. But then again, that situation, if it was such, the government should have sorted it out there. They should have done something. Get out a case, solve it out. Why was it left unsolved? So when we came to 2021, in whole of South Asia, where we include India, Pakistan, the side of Chinese, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. In whole of South Asia, Pakistan is the only one who's actually giving exams right now. So
Hmm.
why is that so is the question. It remains. Uh, as I said earlier, students are not scared of COVID, but they're looking at equality. They want equality. If students in India get predicted grades, why do the students in Pakistan have to give exams? Or if students in Bangladesh, for example, get predicted grades, why students in Pakistan are forced to give exams? And look, you're comparing us to a local board, which doesn't really make sense. I get local board has 50 lakh students, but we pay a lot more fees. Even the school fees are higher, the examination fees are higher, the course relatively, I won't talk about the toughness and all, but then again, it's a different thing. So if you're linked with something abroad, so we or the teachers should get to decide. All the schools outed for predicted grades, be it HSN, Beacon House, Truth Millennium, LGS, all of them put out statements in the public in which they publicly said that they would be looking for predicted grades. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because the government, what I think is, if the students did not protest, they might have gotten predicted grades. But the students protested to such a level that the ministry kind of took it onto its ego, if I might say.
Hmm.
They just wanted the exams to go ahead, that the students have challenged us. Now we're not going to take it back. They are going to give the exams. So I think this is what happened. This really, and from the student perspective or from the student's point of view, no student is really happy giving exams now. That's not because COVID, that's not because they were not really prepared. Students are prepared. Trust me, if you ask me, I was prepared. Many students were prepared. So it's not about preparation. And we basically prepare in the last month. And everyone knows that. There's nothing different, or there's no big science to understand that every student prepares in the last month. So it's not about the syllabus, it's not about the COVID situation, it's just the equality. If the whole of
Right.
South Asia gets their papers cancelled, then why do we give it? That's it.
Right. So I get your point. You're trying to say that students were prepared, but they were still looking for a way out because the May June 2020 series was actually called off. And by protesting against the government, asking them to allow them to defer their entries to October, November, they were trying to look for a way uh, for the Ministry of Education to actually call off the entire series. So, what do you think if the students
Yes.
were prepared to this extent? Why were they actually looking for a cancellation over here? The second question I have
Uh,
here is, yeah.
Yeah, so about this question of yours,
Mhm.
look, when last year's exam series were cancelled, if you look at the grades, the inflation that you talk
Mm,
about, so
mm,
there was a certain inflation, a very different, a very new thing, a very unprecedented one. Students, around 50% of the students ended up getting A's, and A stars and A's and B's, pretty good grades actually. But when you look at the October November 2020 series, that A grade ratio or the boundary drops to 30%. So when you look at it, in June 2020, when exams were cancelled, students, around 50% of them got really good grades. Whereas Whereas now, if you look at the October November series of 2020, when students actually gave exams, only
mm.
around 30% of them got A's or A stars. Well, that's the normal. That's when the pandemic didn't happen.
Right. I
It's
see.
this level that remains 30%, 35%.
Mm,
But
mm,
the situation is such now that since you asked if they were prepared, why didn't they actually go for the exams? If you
mm.
cancel in other countries, there's a certain inflation that comes up. Inflation
Right.
is inevitable. A teacher might doubt, no teacher is sure about the grade that you're going to get. For example, if you're a student, a teacher might think, okay, Ahmad might get an A or a B, but they'll still give you a B or a A. What would they give you? For example, let me ask you, if a teacher of yours is really
Mm,
close to you, they've known you for 2 years, and in the end, they're deciding, okay, Ahmad is supposed to get an A or a B. They'll still give you an A. They'll give you the benefit. So that is where the inflation comes. And Cambridge said they are not going to downgrade any grades this time. So,
Right.
for example, if students from Bangladesh end up getting 50% of them end up getting A's and A stars, and 30% of them in Pakistan end up getting A's and A stars, who's at the advantage? Who's at the disadvantage?
I think there's an internet
We pay the
connection
same fees, we
issue.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the simple question. Okay, fine. We also talk about, am I fine now? Yeah,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, you're fine now.
So the inflation was one of the biggest issues that I think the students actually
Mm,
protested.
mm,
And
mm.
any student, look, let's just call off this Pakistan, Bangladesh, India debate, and let's just talk about a household. For example, you have 4 people in your house, and 2 people are in the same class, and you ask one of them to give exams, the other one to get free
Hmm,
grades.
hmm, hmm.
Obviously, the other one would protest and say, why? Why am I supposed to give exams? And why are
Right.
they not supposed to? And the thing here is, one small thing is, education ministry, we've tried contacting them every possible way. We've tried meeting our education minister every
Hmm,
possible way.
hmm.
And the only time that he had for us was 2 minutes, a mere 2 minutes. After protesting so much in Islamabad, we finally met the Deputy Commissioner of Islamabad, and he assured that he'll help us meet the education minister. And when we actually went up to meet him, it was only 2 minutes. And he said he was busy and he left. If you're the education minister, what are you actually busy with?
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
So, okay, you've also answered my second question, which was regarding this discrepancy between the countries. All of the countries in Zone 4, you were saying, had actually called off the series, but Pakistan was the only one which was insisting the students to actually take these exams. Although the
Yeah.
COVID situation was unique to every country here, but the students were afraid of these the grade inflation that might take place in all of these other countries, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and obviously that would directly
Yeah.
affect their grade in Zone 4 as well. All right,
Yep.
that actually makes sense. There was another aspect that the students were raising during all of these protests, and when they were actually convincing the government. I mean, they were wanting when the government actually forced the students, not forced, but they just decided against the May June 21 series. Some of the students feared this element of gap year as well. They were like, if they would be taking the May June October November series, they might be wasting their time. I mean, for the university admissions, a lot of the O-level students had to start off with their A-level classes as well. And this is the reason that schools and the students are in favor of the mini exam series as well. I've seen a lot of schools that are actually making it a compulsion for their students to take their exams in the mini series, just so they can start off their A levels on time. So, what is this fear of gap year, and why are the students or the schools, the institutions, afraid of this concept of gap year here?
Well, look, there's a certain concept, there's a certain cycle that runs, because Cambridge International is an international body. We're dealing with what,
Hmm.
180 countries with Cambridge, and it's such a big body. It's not just one country where you can just change out everything. So it's a certain cycle that you give your exams in May, June, and then university and all that stuff. But when you delay it such a way that you put it up in October, November, this automatically puts a puts you at the back. Because look, if you're looking at predicted grades, the other countries get their predicted grades and they move on as normal. So they're starting their classes on time. Everything is happening on time. But for these students, they're going to be starting their classes in what, say December. So you're saying that they may get, so if a student who's given his AS exams in October, November, you're telling me he's going to give his A2 exams in May, June the next year within 6 months of teaching. Exceptional students might do it, those who are very intelligent might do it. But for a normal student, I think we need around an year for the A2 preparation. Around an year is good. But if you're saying do it in 6 months and go to a university, that sounds stupid again. But so students are gonna do is they'll give their October November series and they'll give their A2 exams in the next October November series, which is one
Right.
year again. So when they
Hmm.
give their exam in October November, again they miss out the university admissions. Everything happens, and the whole cycle is disturbed. Internationally, look, one main aim of doing A level is you're applying abroad. So students who do A level are trying to compete internationally. So international cycle is not going to be stopping or going to be disturbed by just one country saying, okay, we're not having exams. So that is why this many schools, teachers raised the issue. Being at our own country, you can delay the board exams and you can delay the whole cycle or the year because it's just your own country. But with 190 countries of Cambridge International, that's not possible. So that just interrupts the whole year. So for that reason, mini exam series for AS, for O levels was a very good thing, according to me, because look, they've really eased up everything, considering the pandemic. They've put up MCQs, they've shortened the syllabus, they've done everything that's possible within their reach to actually put it up. So I think with this mini exam series, students won't really appreciate it because obviously they got it delayed to October, November, and obviously everyone they don't think in the long run, they just think short term. Students are such that they would never think about the next year and all that. Who would think about the next year? No, we're not going to be thinking about the next year. So they're just going to be happy with giving exams in October, November, and chilling out for now, going out, partying out. Who's going to give their exams on Eid time and all that? But the mini exam series is a very good thing for those students because they do not know that if they give it now, they're going to be in line for their university admissions, which, if you know the USA admissions, since you have done it November, October, your exams in that period. So that is the thing. So for that reason, I think the Education Ministry insisted on having exam series in July and this time. So I think it's a very comparatively easier thing because I've read the document. They've put up MCQs. The questions have kind of eased up. So if students have proper preparation, if they actually did prepare, if they didn't waste their time, which many did and now are wanting predicted grades, if they didn't actually waste their time, this brings them on par with those students who actually got their exams cancelled because this is a pretty easy exam series. And then you're giving your exams. That means, obviously when you get predicted grades, they don't really have the same value as exams. Well, while Cambridge will try to give it an equal value, universities will still defer it. Not every university is going to accept your predicted grades. They'll say, we want exams. So if you've given your exams, you're properly progressing through. So I think for those students, it's a very good thing. While some students might disagree, but schools making it compulsory for students to take it now is a very good thing.
Right. So what I understand from this conversation here is that students are not afraid of gap year. They just want more time for preparation, right? Because a student entering, taking O levels,
not more time for preparation. They're kind of running away. The student psyche is you run away as much as you can. And in the end, when you're trapped to the last 1 month, you just try putting up everything together and going for the go give your exams. So if a student keeps getting time, they would love having extra time. But then if you look at it, this is the best possible decision for them because it's a kind of a stalemate because students don't want exams. Government wants exams. In between, this is the best option.
So I think, the government has actually provided really good alternatives to students at this time.
Yes.
Even initially, when they asked the A-level students who were seeking admissions in Pakistan universities, they had this option to take their exams in October, November, and they also, I think they assured the students that their admissions would be, secured, right? I just heard some sort of these statements as well. And then obviously there's many exam series for the O-level students, so they could start their A-levels on time. The international students seeking admissions in the international universities had this option to set May June series as well. So I think a lot of these decisions were there in line with the demands of the students and what the students were actually expecting from the government. So what's the final takeaway for the students? They were demanding a lot of these things from the government. The government was trying its best to make these concessions for the students, and we can see these concessions in form of the mini exams, in form of the decisions to allow students to sit their A-level students specifically to sit May June series as well as the October November series. So I think students have these. We never had these options before. So the students have the most options they can have at their disposal at this point in time. They can either go for the May June series, they can go for this mini series, they can go for the October November series. So so what's the takeaway for the students? They should be happy with all of this, huh?
Well, you actually cheekily did mention that you never had such options. You never have COVID too, if you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had everything on time. I think we had COVID, so we were
Mm,
severely affected.
mm,
So we deserve these options, I think. Well, the government has really been flexible, I might say, but
mm,
this flexibility was expected a bit earlier. Making last minute decisions of suddenly canceling exams when a couple of papers were already done. Just
mm,
because you saw 50 people standing outside, and every news channel started displaying it that Cambridge exams, there are no SOPs. So I think the government must have been ready, because look, COVID does not increase in 2 days time period. That suddenly you've had your, I still remember the dates. So you've had your last meeting on 20th April, and the exams start on 26th April. And around
mm,
28th April, you cancel the exams. So I think at that point on 20th April, the COVID rates were similar to that at 28th. So there wasn't much of a difference. In 2 days, it does not really spike up so much that you just cancel. I think the government needed to make a bit more timely decisions for a bit of more
mm,
clarity, because that is where the government actually didn't perform well. They didn't make any timely decisions. It was just made in some fear, some anxiousness, quickly make some decisions. Okay, fine, cancel it all. Okay, fine, now we are having a mini series without any information, because it's such a new thing. When you tell students, okay, it's cancelled, do you think that students, after knowing that it's cancelled, would actually sit and open their book and study? And then after 1 month you tell them, oh, you have a mini exam series. So this one thing is where I think the government should have been better, performed better, that they should have actually, taken timely decisions. And I think one more thing is they failed in this form, where they failed to have stakeholder involvements. I got the honor of talking to a few famous personalities from schools, from Roots, Millennium. I spoke to many people, and they said that you know uh, the stakeholder involvement was nothing. Basically, they never invited us. When you make a decision, teachers, principals are very important, because they know what's best for their students as well. So
mm,
if you
mm,
involve them, you will get the best decision out, or the best way out. But then if you just make it yourself without any involvement, because parents are supposed to be involved because they pay the fees, students because they learn, teachers because they teach, principals because they manage, that management was not there. uh, from the students' side, or from what the students feel now, I think um, for for every batch they've actually made up a decision which kind of suits them. And it's, if you want to give exams, this is the most flexible
mm,
way out. This was the best way out. There's no other way possible. Like, you cannot do anything other than canceling papers now. So they gave a mini exam series with a lot of easiness to O levels to facilitate them. They gave up AS students this mini exam series so they can start on time. Um, A2 students, because obviously they said you can give it now in May, June, or give it in October, November, and then still get admissions. Again, this was unclear, because universities didn't put up anything like this. Even after the education minister saying that they will give admissions, we had to keep
mm,
calling, and there was nervousness and there was fear that we're having our exams the next days. Should we go for the exam? Should we not go? Should we wait? What should we do? Because the university is not announcing something. So now a university like LUMS, because it's private, LUMS, what if they just say, okay, we're not going to be facilitating what Shafkat Mahmood has said? LUMS is a dream for many students. So
mm,
if students suddenly differ, and LUMS says, okay, we're not doing that, because that's just not happening. Because a few friends of mine, I did approach them. One of them was Zainab, who studied in our school earlier. Neha Khan, I did speak with them, and they said that we're not sure, but we don't think LUMS is going to do this, because it's a
right.
private entity. And that is what put a fear in my mind, because many of my friends are applying to LUMS, and they've deferred their entries to October, November, thinking, fine, we will still get admissions because our education minister has said so. And he said the universities are going to start in January. Again, that didn't happen. Why? Because they said we will be giving provisional admissions. Provisional admissions, which means you're basically going to be studying for your A levels and for your
Mm,
university together,
mm, mm,
which
right.
gets very tough. Trust me, when this
I see.
happens, this is something that you have never experienced. Your batch has never experienced, and will probably never experience. So for now, for the 80 students, it's such that if you've given your exams in May, June, well and good. We wish you the very best of luck. I hope that there is not much of an inflation and you're not internationally disadvantaged. October, November is again country-based thing. Again, countries will be canceling. Again, there will be issues. A similar situation might be coming up. And looking at this fourth wave, I still look at this in a similar way. Students protesting out and asking for cancellation. This is going to happen again. But I suggest that they start preparing. By the looks of it, it's not going to be canceled. They are going to take it. Um, October, November series for the A2 students, yeah, it gets tough, but they've gotten their time. They asked for postponement, although this was not what they wanted. Postponement in sense of cancellation was what they wanted, but they tried outsmarting the government. The government outsmarted them. This is what happened in the end. So now that they've gotten their exams up till October, November, work hard, and I think you are going to be giving your exams, and in the end, yeah, progress through your life. This is a normal
I
thing.
see. So we understand all of this anxiety, the concerns the students had, and I think they were just expecting some timely decisions by the government,
Yes.
not like deciding to call off the exam series 3 to 4 days before actually the beginning of that series. So yeah, some timely decisions could have actually helped the students get through this chaos the students were facing actually. And I would also take this opportunity to wish all the students all the luck for their mini exam series, and the A-level students and some O-level students who were actually about to take their October, November exams as well. Thank you, Heather, again for joining us on this podcast. It was a really insightful conversation, and
Thank you very much, Amal. It
I'd
was
love to
pleasure.
have you in another episode as well. With that,
Sure,
ladies and
sure.
gentlemen, thank you for watching the episode. I hope the situation, it was, I mean, we just talked about this entire controversy according to what we feel. It was just our opinion that was expressed in this entire episode. You can also tell us about your opinions by writing in the comment section. Thank you for joining us. I will see you guys in another episode. This is Muhammad Ahmad signing off. Allah Hafiz.